morning. Today is my first day turning the camera back on since my nose job. I've been telling anyone who inquires about this nice scab on my nose that's very easy to overlook. I got in a fight with Marty. Sounds believable, right? He was so upset that I ran over his phone with the backhoe that he squared up with me. I'm fairly certain that most of you are aware what happened, so I'll spare you the nitty-gritty details. I had a cancerous spot on my nose. It was not a melanoma, fortunately, but still a spot that needed removed with some surface surgery. You can quite literally go back to any of my videos before this and very easily see that spot. It has kind of a whitish hue. To get the margins clear of cancerous tissue, they ended up taking out a spot that was about the size of a nickel, so fairly large. That's where the stitches and the scar comes into play. They had to cut some relief incisions into my forehead to kind of tighten my skin down. In a roundabout way, it's almost like I got plastic surgery because they pulled some of my wrinkles down. It's like a 2-for-1 deal. I will say though that it does not feel like I won anything here at all. They told me that I got the award that day for the youngest person in the operating room, so yay me. To all of you watching, let this just serve as a reminder if you have questionable skin or spend a lot of time outside in the sun to go to a dermatologist and get your skin checked out to make sure that you don't have any kind of skin cancers going on. If you catch them early, it's not as invasive as this. If they go on for too long, eventually they have to take larger chunks out. If you have something like a melanoma that can be very aggressive in how it spreads, that is life-threatening. So everyone, if you're even slightly concerned, or maybe not at all, go once or twice every year or two to have your skin checked out. While we're on the topic of health and wellness, I want to take a very quick minute to thank the sponsors of today's video, AG1 by Athletic Greens. AG1 is more than just your everyday greens powder. It's your daily multivitamin and multi-mineral, pre and probiotic, along with immunity support and much more. And yes, it also provides your daily blend of greens as well. If you are looking for a nearly effortless source of comprehensive and convenient daily nutrition with 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food sourced ingredients, this AG1 by Athletic Greens is the product for you. For those of you who might be on the run, which is probably a lot of you, it is available in convenient travel packs or in a bulk storage if you'd rather have it that way. It doesn't hurt that this just so happens to be probably the tastiest form you're ever going to get this great combination of vitamins, minerals, and other supportive ingredients. For myself, AG1 has been a pivotal part of my daily routine throughout the gruesome harvest season schedule. The amount of prolonged hours, lack of sleep, and other things we have to deal with day in and out requires additional supplementation from a product like this to help you stay sharp, focused, and on the ball day in and day out to make sure that every task is done as close to perfection as possible. AG1 is such a simple daily habit that in the 2 short minutes that I've been standing here videoing this ad, I have mixed up my daily dose of AG1, pounded it down, and am ready to conquer the rest of the day. If you are interested in trying out AG1 by Athletic Greens, head on over to athleticgreens.com/aTrippyFarmer to get started on your order right now. Individuals that follow this link and place their first order will also receive a 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D3 and K2, as well as 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. If you are interested in taking back control over your health and wellness like me, there is no better place to start than with AG1 by Athletic Greens. Thank you all. Now back to the regularly scheduled programming. From an operational standpoint, this is about the best time of year possible to be out of commission from physical labor for a couple weeks. December, January, and February typically involve the least amount of physical labor and outdoor activity, with the exception of maybe coring our bean bin already and fixing a few tile holes. That's not to say that we don't do anything. We do a lot more managerial stuff, not as time pressing, making seed decisions, chemical plans, and a variety of other operational, organizational activities to help us be prepared for success next growing season in 2023.
This off-season is some nice 40-foot aluminum grain trailers, but out of necessity they are making some tarp upgrades. This trailer in particular has a couple rips in the tarp that kind of renders the tarp pointless because it's supposed to keep the elements out. Holes in the tarp penetrate that protection, so we're going to take it down to Brum Levees in Effingham, where they are going to fix the tarp either by patching or completely replacing it, and while it's down there they're going to go ahead and put on one of those fancy power tarps for us. That way our 4 truck drivers, Jeff and I, don't have to weather to tarp and untarp our trucks while we're loading and offloading this winter.
Jeff's the spearhead on this project. Chris and I are kind of just helping him get everything on the road.
Before we get too adventurous this time of year, we like to put a more winterized blend of diesel fuel, especially in our trucks. More of a #1 blend versus the #2 biodiesel we normally use. It doesn't handle the cold as well, so you have two options: either run a heavier #1 blend or put a treatment in your #2.
For every bit that you gain in winter reliability in your diesel fuel by using either #1 or a blended #1 and 2, or even just running #2 and treating it heavily with a winterization chemical, you're going to give up a lot of fuel efficiency. This time of year, winterized diesel fuel, regardless of how you do it, burns through those trucks like water. It's hard to argue that getting new stuff and making upgrades on the farm is not pretty exciting, but the real excitement this week is the forecast over the next couple of days. According to the meteorologists, if you put much weight in what they have to say, they seem to be as accurate as the stock market prediction people, but they're calling for anywhere up to 20 inches of snow and wind chills down to 35 or 40 below freezing. That's like Minnesota weather here. And to be honest with all of you, I don't know how us Southerners are going to be able to fare from that extreme winter weather. We may have a #1 blend, and on a road diesel fuel, we don't have the same luxury in our off-road tank. Not that it's not possible, it's just not something we normally do. So I have a winter blend of John Deere diesel fuel conditioner right here. The 7330 is our blade tractor, so we use it to clear driveways and get any large amounts of snow out of the way. I'd say it's got maybe a 100-gallon fuel tank, if that. The blend ratio is 4 ounces per 45 gallons, so we're going to put 7 to 8 ounces in and probably call it good. Okay, this is going to be highly scientific, measured down to the precise decimal. That was like 2 ounces. 4, 5. One more run. 8. Perfect. See? Told you. It's like launching a rocket ship. Don't get me wrong, we're used to snow. It snows every winter, probably 15 to 20 times. A majority of them are light dustings. If this forecast, though, of 20+ inches comes true, it'll be some of the largest totals of snowfall that we've seen in recent history. I can't remember in the last 5 to 10 years getting anything over 6 inches of snow at one time. For 90 out of 100 snowfalls, that blade is more than enough to scrape everything off and make our drives and roads passable. For the other 10 out of 100, the backhoe has to help move some of the piles of snow. Just in case we get that much, which it is looking like it, I'm also going to treat the fuel in the backhoe. I have no idea how much fuel this holds. It's probably similar to the 7330, if not a little less. Our next order of business happens to be the Alliance Tractor, our John Deere dealership in Mattoon, where we're picking up our 8R 370 that's been worked on, and Marty got himself a little Christmas present. Whoa, this 8R feels weird after running our 9000 series tractors for a while. It's only fitting after you go to a John Deere dealership to get some service done to just go ahead and bring home a new implement with you. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is our field cultivator that we ordered over a year ago. A day late and $1 too much. Marty volunteered for the fun job. Got it. This is our new 2230 FH 52.5-foot field cultivator. It was supposed to be ready for last spring. Didn't show up until July. And in December, they finally got it pieced together. Just in time for next year's crop. Yeah, this one's definitely ours. Other than being a brand new tillage implement, there's really nothing too exciting about this field cultivator. It's quite literally just a field cultivator that we won't use for another 4 or 5 months. Okay, second order of business, massaging seat on. Anyone know if these field cultivators are rated for 33 miles an hour on the road? If not, let me know real fast. Some things you just won't know the answer to until you try them. This 8R370 has been a pretty good tractor for us so far. It was in town getting some warranty work done. One of my LED hazard lights was not working at all. I had the DEF sensor issue where it was saying I was shutting the battery off too early, and I don't think I was. Then we had some sensors on the back that weren't reading correctly. We're getting some warnings for those. They looked it all over. The light just happened to be poor installation. For some reason or another, they pinched the line and eventually it just gave out. It was very evidently crimped from what the mechanic showed us. And then the stuff in the back and the DEF, they think was an electrical short of some kind at the connections. They've replaced a few connecting harnesses on this and said it should be good to go. Which I hope so, because it runs out of warranty here in like February or March, meaning that anything beyond that point is on us financially. And the field cultivator, well, it's a field cultivator. That's about all I gotta say about that. Everyone relax. Before you jump to any kind of conclusions, know this 8R370 will not be pulling a 52.5-foot field cultivator for us next spring. 370 horsepower is not quite enough, and I'm not even sure that our secondary tillage tractors, the 9460Rs, will even have enough under the hood to really pull this effectively 8, 9, maybe even 10 miles an hour, but we're going to give it our best shot. The good old college try, as they say. I'll be operating this new 8R370 on our new DB60 soybean planter if it ever decides to show up. They've already started pushing it back. They're at February now. If it gets to March, it's not going to be looking very good for us having it this spring, which is unfortunate because they're very proud of their pricing on all this new stuff, but they can't seem to hammer them out of the factory fast enough to satisfy the needs of the farmers. I'm not sure that a field cultivator is very Christmas music-y, but that's what we're working with here on the radio. Seems to be a holdup at the farm. Not all the tractors are out that are in my way. What's the holdup? Which one? Looks like our 8310R is dead according to Jeff. 9-liter engine, so this little battery pack shouldn't have any problem starting it right up. It'll be in front of it. Wasn't enough, so we're going to hook up the battery charger. A little bit more oomph behind it. With the brunt of winter quickly approaching, it doesn't hurt to have a bunch of stuff started and running. Typically good for those engines to get a breath of fresh air, get the parts moving and warmed up a little bit. So I'm not really that concerned about having everything parked out running. The 8310R should fire right up once we get the boosting charger on there. Wasn't any closer. Okay, well the 8310R is just gonna stay right where it is for a while. We're gonna go ahead and just back this stuff in, leave the field cultivator hooked on. If we decide to move it at some point in the future, we can do that, but for now, it's fine on this 8R370. It's not like this tractor does anything for us other than plant. Just got it. You know what they say about building machine sheds? You can never build them big enough. They're good for like 5 or 6 years, and then you buy more equipment, you get more ground. Next thing you know, they're not big enough. Yeah, that soap did a good job. Just when you thought we were done with all of our oil misadventures, we got a few more sections of pipe to pick up. That is the one positive about the frozen weather we have and continue to have. We can actually drive it on the fields now. Usually pretty slow starter. Although this case backhoe has 655 hours on it, it feels more like it has 6,500 hours on it with how beat up it is. The radio doesn't work. The heat and air conditioning only work when it feels like it. The front and the back buckets are bent up, scratched up, which isn't that surprising. I just don't know that if I was buying a backhoe, I would buy a used one. Based on what this one's seeing its short lifespan here. Slow and steady wins the race. Here's our stop. I've yet to develop a good system for holding onto the camera while I backhoe. My camera is too big to use magnets. There's not even really good magnet locations. So I kind of just have to wrangle it up in between my legs or something. lot more oil well pipe here than I realized, and a tire, but the tire's not our responsibility. It's on the state's property on the interstate.
I'm under the impression that I've got most of the pipe that was sitting on top of the ground, or at least within the top 6 to 12 inches. The cavalry has arrived. We're going to try and load at least some of these pieces up on the trailer, get it to the scrap yard. Somewhere in here is a natural gas line. It's not a big one, but I don't know how deep it is. I think it's like right through here. I don't really want to get too exploracious, if that's even a word, get too deep in the ground and grab that. This is the only pipe I'm trying to grab. Natural gas line might not be quite as friendly if I get it.
Dad agreed that this was a little bit more than he was anticipating, so we both have the same opinion of this project, and we don't have our saw that we used last time, because these pipes about need cut off.
I was expecting 5 or 6 pipes. Looks like there's 25 to 30 of them. So that presents us a new issue of getting the weight balanced out, because as of right now, these are dragging on the ground. So we're either gonna have to try and crimp them down up front, or maybe get a heavier truck on the trailer so it's not getting lifted off the ground. I really don't know, but we got the pipe on the trailer. That's half the battle.
I don't think that's gonna work, Marty. Drag the trailer to the road with the help of the backhoe. Now we're gonna cut some of the weight off the back, shorten the length of the load, and hopefully get the weight more to the front so we can actually trailer it correctly. Last time we were cutting pipe, we borrowed the Uphoff's steel gas-powered chop saw. Dad liked it so much that we ended up just getting our own for the farm. Went through a whole blade pretty much on this project, but it goes through it like a hot knife through butter. We've taken the end off of all but maybe 6 or 7 pipes. Let's put a lot more weight back towards the front, so it's not dragging on the ground, and hopefully we can get it home. I will say that the Uphoff bros were right about one thing. It's that you pretty much need a full face mask to run that chop saw. There's so much inert material flying off as you're cutting. I just had a pair of goggles on. I was getting hit in the face by shrapnel. That's another project we can cross off of our winter to-do list. After our last time cleaning up oil well pipes, my dad needed a new phone, courtesy of the backhoe. And this time was just as eventful, maybe not quite as expensive, but he needs a new pair of shoes, courtesy of the sparks from the chop saw. Can we see what you did to your shoe? Yep. You went through your sock too?
I got this one too.
Oh.
Would you look at that? 2 new power cars.
Now back the other way. It only took us 10 years, but we finally caught up with all those other cool farmers. I saw another person's video, I don't know if it was Millennial Farm or someone else, that said that these seem to drain power when the truck's not on, especially if it's been sitting here for a long time not running. So we're gonna go ahead and unplug these when the truck's sitting. That way we don't have to jump our batteries every time we wanna run. I can't exactly say that I'm looking forward to starting to haul all of our grain out of the bins other than the paycheck, but it is going to be a little less dreadful now that we have power tarps.
We kicked around the idea of installing these about 3 or 4 years ago. At the time, I think it was about $2,500 to $3,000 all in to put these on each trailer. This time we came in a little bit under $4,000, but this trailer right here ended up getting an entire new tarp because it was torn, and they thought a new tarp was a better fit than just patching it in 20 different places, which I tend to agree with.
This upgrade's not a necessity by any means. I had no problem tarping and untarping the truck other than braving the cold, miserable winter weather when we're hauling in the off season. It is going to be really nice to have though.
The third grain trailer, which is essentially just a harvest backup, it's just going to stay with the regular tarp. No reason to invest all that money for something that only gets used for a month to 6 weeks out of the year. The other two trailers are what we're going to haul all off season with, so it makes sense to spend a little bit more money on them. Same goes for the 10-wheeler as well. We never really tarped that in the first place, so I'm not really that concerned about it. It's only going to get used for 4 to 6 weeks a year, maybe 7. So there's no reason to invest money in that as well.
If you couldn't tell, it's been a couple days since the first day I recorded during this video. They've actually backed the snow way out of the forecast. They were talking 15 to 20 inches over a 2-day period. Now they're thinking 5 to 10 at most. Cold weather and extreme winds, 40 to 50 miles an hour, are still going to be present, just not as much snow up front, which should lessen the burden of this whole issue. Or at least I hope so, because I realized after I put in all that diesel fuel conditioner that it was not 1 ounce per 44 gallons. I was completely wrong. That was the non-winterized version, was 1 ounce to 44 liters of diesel fuel. The winterized is 1 ounce to 49 liters of diesel fuel, meaning that it only treats 10, 12 gallons of diesel fuel. So I needed to basically quadruple any of the rates I applied. So I've been going around topping everything back up because the cold weather is just as much of an issue, if not more of an issue, than the snow. Anyways, I'm sure it's glaringly obvious that it's a very slow time of year for us here on the farm. After the new year, things tend to kind of kick up a little bit. I am still hoping to get a video together with some research, yield data, and analysis from this past growing season, and maybe give my opinions on what we might do moving forward. Definitely on my to-do list, but it's not going to happen this video. I do greatly appreciate every single one of you continuing to tune in and support the channel. Your viewership means the world to me. I'll see you guys all in the next episode. Until then, make sure you like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and comment down below if you have any questions. You know I love to talk about farming. Have a great day, everyone. Peace!